The former commander of all of the Army's Green Berets, as well as the Special Warfare Center and School. Also, Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence for his last 4 years after 36 years in the Army, and an ordained minister. We are talking to Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, also the Executive Vice President of the Family Research Council. Geez, Jerry, I wish you would have done something with your life. I want to turn our attention over to our enemies here for a second, because you do talk about this in that letter from the flag officers that you released yesterday or the day before. We have the hit on the Colonial Pipeline. We believe that dark side is from Russia. I don't believe you do anything like this on this scale in Russia without Putin at least giving a nod, or somebody saying, go ahead, you can do that. The president said that this was a private matter and Colonial would have to decide whether they paid the ransom or not. I mean, maybe I've watched too many episodes of 24, but I don't ever remember hearing a president say you can negotiate with terrorists. And isn't this the federal government's primary job, to protect business and people from foreign attacks?
Yes, it is. I came into the counterterrorism business when the Delta Force was created in 1978, and one of the first things that they told us is we do not, as a nation, we do not negotiate or pay ransom with terrorists. And now it is a shock to me to hear this from the president's administration. But look, I will just tell you that this is an attack on our infrastructure. Look at what this is doing to the East Coast of the United States. Mm-hmm. And if that is not a significant attack on America, then I don't know exactly what it is.
So I don't know. You're an expert in these things, but if it were directly tied to the Kremlin, wouldn't this be an act of war?
Oh, I think it would, and we have to get used to the fact that we are seeing war in a different way than what we have seen in the past. We've got to look at cyber attacks as being part of an attack on America that affects everybody.
It wasn't, 3 summers ago that Putin said, I don't know what I have to say to you, your European leaders. He was talking to the press, but we're already in war, and it's being fought with ones and zeros.
Yeah, he was absolutely on the mark. He was spot on. He was prescient in that statement, and it's sad that we haven't come to grips with that, and we don't understand that yet as a nation. We're still looking for tanks, maneuvering on the battlefield before we're willing to call it a war. No, we're at war, and we're very much at war with China and have been for some time. And look, we're at war with Iran, and it's in some ways it's a surrogate war. But we are fighting right now. What you see in Jerusalem right now, what you see all over Israel right now, is largely sponsored by, supported by, funded by Iran.
Right.
They're right in the middle of this. And we cannot ignore that, and they're going after our closest ally, probably in the world.
Are they?
Is Israel.
Are they anymore? I mean, Jerry, I've never seen a time where we have been on the wrong side of almost every issue. Yeah. We are negotiating with with hackers. We're negotiating with the terrorists in Iran. We're standing by while Israel is attacked. We are not doing anything about Russia. China is walking all over us, and our president's son still is taking paychecks from the Communist Party apparatus in China. I mean, who are
absolutely. we? What does the world think of us right now? Look, I will tell you this. This is my belief, and I've said this on other programs. I don't believe that we would see the events in Israel right now unfolding if
No way.
Donald Trump was still the president of the United States, because I think he established that he was going to support Israel. And think about this. When he moved the embassy to Jerusalem, he was told by just about every one of his advisors, you're going to start a war, and it's going to be bad. Well, he moved it. And how long did the rioting last there? About 24 hours, and it was over. Now, why do we now have a situation where this is becoming very, very serious there, and we've got probably well over 100 people that are killed, and that information is about 18 hours old right now. And this would not have happened, and it would not have gone on this long. I think that Donald Trump would have immediately stepped out and said to the world, what can I give you, Israel? What do you need?
Yes.
How can we help you protect yourself? Because this whole thing is I think, a test of Joe Biden's leadership.
I think it's not only a test, but it is also a test of the loyalty of those Marxists in our own government as well, who are for all of this stuff. Let me ask you about. We now have a new number of 130 people, far more than what was previously known. We haven't come out with the numbers with CIA. They are supposed to be substantial as well. But somebody has some sort of a ray that was first seen in Cuba. It's now being seen in parts of the United States, all around the world. And it looks like it's tied to Russia. Any idea on the ray gun or whatever it's called or whatever it is that is causing these brain injuries in our spies and diplomats and soldiers?
Well, first of all, this is not new technology, and keep in mind the Chinese have had technology that would actually take out our satellites. They've had that for some time, and one of our big challenges has been trying to defend ourselves against that. But I don't know the details of, nor specifically where this is coming from, but I guarantee you that this is not something that is being designed and deployed by the evangelical Christians that are supposed to be the biggest domestic threat today. So I don't know where it's coming from, but once again, somehow it will wind up being blamed on the very people that you and I represent.
What do you think of General Lloyd Austin?
Lloyd Austin, I've known him for a long time, and Lloyd was he lived next door to me at Fort Bragg, and he was a friend. And I think Lloyd had a very distinguished career. But I think that Lloyd was not prepared for the politics that he stepped into in Washington. And as far as I am concerned, Lloyd has compromised on issues that he knows are not in the best interest of our nation. And again, this is where I say, when you take time away from the training and the preparation for winning wars, and you go through stuff like critical race theory, you are wasting those soldiers' times that they need to be ready to go prepare for war. And Lloyd Austin is advocating that and pushing that, and I think that's a huge mistake. So I think he's wrong about that, and I think he's gotten caught up in the politics of Washington, and it has had a negative effect on him. In
your opinion, you said earlier that you would walk in and put your stars down on the desk and say, I can't serve this anymore. In your opinion, the brass of the military, not the civil servants, but the actual military. What do you think the percentage is that is at least feeling like this is not right? There's something very wrong here.
Oh, I think that they all know. I'd say to every one of them knows that this is not in the best interest of the military to be off on this tangent that we're on right now and making it a test bed, as well as wasting the time on these nonsensical things like critical race theory. I think every one of them knows that. I think they all know that this is not helping our military. But I think that you've got some people in there that are very much on the left side of the political spectrum who are enjoying seeing this happen in spite of the fact that they know that it's not doing anything to make our military more effective on the battlefield.
So does this just continue, or do you expect to see people stand up?
I think you're going to see a quiet exit. I think
That's not helpful, is it?
No, a guy called me yesterday from Kuwait. He said, "I'm over here." He said, he had read the letter, and he called me and he said, "I'm leaving." He said, "I can't take it anymore." He said, "I'm going to help get them out of Afghanistan here, and then I'm done." He said, "This what I am seeing in the military today is not what I signed up for, and I am going to leave." Well, I think you're going to see a lot more of that. I think that the recruiting, you just go back and look at this recruiting ad, this little cartoon recruiting ad that you and I talked about earlier, and you ask yourself, who is that going to attract? Who is going to be stimulated to want to serve with an ad like that? And I think what you're going to see is not only a quiet exit, but I think you're going to see recruiting really become much more difficult in our military. I think that moms and dads are not going to want Johnny and Janie going into a military like that.
I will tell you, my son has talked about, possibly going into the military. And I'm really torn. I want good people in the military, but I am afraid of what they could easily become.
The military is so critical to this nation. I mean, we wouldn't be a nation if it were not for the young men and women that have signed up, as Isaiah did, and said, "Here am I, send me." But I have to tell you, I've got grandchildren now, and I don't know what I'm going to tell them. I don't want them in this Army. I don't want them serving under this commander-in-chief or under the chain of command in our military right now that is standing by and watching the destruction of our military. This is a serious situation, and I'm with you, Clint. I don't know what I'm going to tell them, and I spent 36 and a half years in the military.
Wow. General, I just so love you, and I thank you for your service. I thank you for your willingness to speak out. I thank you for your willingness to speak the words of God as you understand them, and I just think you're a very, very brave patriot, and I thank you for all of your service.
Well, that's very kind of you, Glenn, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate what you're doing and have been doing. And you've been doing this for a long time. So to stay in the fight, we're going to turn this around, but it's going to take all of us working together and being bold enough to not care what people say about us.
Yep.
And you're one of those people.
God bless you, Jerry. Appreciate it.